Hi everyone, it's Mike Celestino from Inside the Magic, and I have seen Solo, a Star Wars story, which is the brand new standalone spin-off movie that takes place about 10 years before the original Star Wars movie, aka A New Hope. And this movie is kind of the origin story of Han Solo, originally played by Harrison Ford in the first movie, and now played by a young actor named Alden Ehrenreich. Now, I want to preface this by saying that if you recall from my last Star Wars review back in December, I mostly really enjoyed The Last Jedi, so if you're among the contingent of fans that are very angry about that film, you may want to factor that into what you think about my opinion about this movie, because so far I've been pretty on board with what Disney has been doing with Star Wars since they bought it a little over 5 years ago. And I have to say, I think Solo, a Star Wars story, is a good Star Wars movie. I don't think it's a great Star Wars movie. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie. In fact, my favorite Star Wars movie ever is The Empire Strikes Back, of course, and then my favorite Star Wars movie of the Disney era is still Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is the other kind of standalone one that takes place immediately before A New Hope. But this one's good. It's a good action movie. It's a good heist movie, but it doesn't really have too much going on that separates it from your average heist movie. In fact, if it had nothing to do with Star Wars, I would say this is a very standard, very average heist movie. But the fact that it does take place in the Star Wars universe, it does have the iconography and the design and the ships and the overall aesthetic of Star Wars, and of course these characters that we already love, even though it's younger versions of them, that kind of elevates it for me to be something that I am going to enjoy a little bit more, because as you can see by this rug that I'm laying on, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan. This movie does have some great things about it, though. I think the cast overall is really, really great. Alden Ehrenreich, who I already mentioned, does a great job as Han Solo. I know there's controversy about the casting of him, but I remember back when there was a list of like 8 actors they were looking at to play this role that kind of leaked out, and his name was the one that immediately jumped to the top for me, because I loved him so much in the Coen Brothers movie Hail Caesar. He's just hysterical in that movie, and I thought he would absolutely nail this role as Han Solo, and he does. He really captures the spirit of what that character is all about, though he doesn't look and sound exactly like Harrison Ford, which I know is what a lot of fans apparently want, because there's this other actor, Anthony Gruber, who people have campaigned for him to be in the movie. And yes, that guy does a good Harrison Ford impression, but I don't know if that necessarily means he would deliver the best performance necessary to make this movie work. And I'm kind of glad that they made that decision to go with capturing the spirit rather than nailing the impression of Harrison Ford. That makes so much more sense to me, the way that they actually went through and cast this movie. And of course Donald Glover is going to be the standout star, though he's not in the movie as much as you would hope or would expect. He's probably about a third of the movie, I think, overall, but I think he's fantastic. And Lando's droid, L337, is going to be a big hit with everybody. And the rest of the cast is just terrific. And Ron Howard does a good job. Ron Howard's a solid director. He's a competent director, though he doesn't really have a identifiable style of his own. He manages to convey the spirit and feel of what a Star Wars movie should be. The other great thing about the movie is a couple of the action scenes. Not all of them. There are a couple that are just serviceable, but there's one or two that are fantastic. There's one in the very middle of the movie. I think we'll probably know it as the Maelstrom sequence, but that got an applause break in the screening that I was in, and I think that's going to be remembered as the best part of this entire film. The other part that really jumped out at me as a standout was when Han and Chewie first meet each other. It's kind of similar to the way we always kind of imagined it would happen, and then also kind of different from the way we always imagined it would happen. And it's a lot of fun and very memorable. And the relationship between Han and Chewie is, as you can imagine, very important to this movie, and they really nail that aspect of it. I think overall the most important thing that Solo: A Star Wars Story does is it delivers a really fun Star Wars movie that doesn't have the fate of the universe at stake. This is really just the story of these few characters. You know, Han, Chewbacca, Han's girlfriend, Qi'ra, who he kind of grew up with, and then we see kind of what becomes of her when they get separated. And the other main character is Woody Harrelson's character, Tobias Beckett, who's kind of Han's mentor in learning how to be a smuggler and a scoundrel in this universe. And there are a couple other characters who I think are going to be very popular, but I don't want to say too much about them because the true nature of them is kind of part of the mystery of the movie. And there's one in particular that I think is going to be a big cosplay costume going forward. Like in the next couple years, I think we're going to see a lot of cosplay of this character at San Diego Comic-Con, even at Halloween. But I think it's a really good thing that we now have this entry in the Star Wars saga that is lighter, not only in tone, but in consequence. You know, we like these characters, we like seeing them have this kind of fun adventure, and we don't have to worry about, oh, are they going to save the galaxy? There's no battle between the forces of good and evil. This is kind of the fuzzy middle ground between good and evil in the seedy underbelly of Star Wars. And honestly, that's always been my favorite part of the Star Wars universe, where these characters kind of exist, you know, in the outer rim, and in you know, you got the bounty hunters and the smugglers and the gangsters. Those are mentioned a few times in this movie. So yeah, I definitely recommend seeing Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's not the greatest Star Wars movie ever made, but it's by no means bad. I know there was a lot of behind-the-scenes turmoil about this movie, and I think it turned out just fine. I think people are going to enjoy it, and I think it's kind of a fun summertime diversion. I think that's why they ended up sticking to this summer release date, because it works. This movie works better as a summer movie than it would in the holiday season, where those movies tend to feel a little bit more important. But you know what? As has been the case for the past few years, if you don't end up liking this Star Wars movie, all you have to do is wait another year, and there's going to be another one, and that trend's going to continue whether you and I like it or not. There's not going to be an end to Star Wars anytime soon. So my personal outlook on that is just to kind of enjoy it. I love the world of Star Wars. I love the universe of Star Wars. I love the look and feel of Star Wars. So why not just bask in it and enjoy that we have all this content? I definitely don't get being angry about it, and I have no reason to be angry about it because I've enjoyed all the movies that have come out since Disney bought the franchise. But different strokes. If you don't like them, fair enough. And of course, everyone's welcome to their own opinions. But please be nice to everyone. Be nice to your fellow fans, and definitely to the creators. It kind of bugs me when people are rude to creators on Twitter and otherwise. But yeah, Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's coming out Friday, May 25th in theaters nationwide. I'm regretting doing this video laying down a little bit now. The blood's kind of rushing to my head. So I'm going to say goodbye. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon. This is Mike Celestino from Inside the Magic. See you real soon.